Breaking news, the federal election interference case against Donald Trump is now postponed indefinitely. The trial was scheduled to start March 4th, but the ongoing appeals about Trump's claims of presidential immunity are making that start date impossible. And Ryan Goodman is out front.
Not surprising whatsoever, nonetheless, a gigantic win for Trump. I don't understand why people don't understand this. All of this stuff comes back to common sense. Almost everything does. In the real world, with a trial, with a case, especially one of this magnitude, the first of its kind, there's no way they could rush it through and get it done in the time frame that they set. They had the March 4th date, like right before Super Tuesday. All of it is just smoke and mirrors and garbage. What they wanted to do, all of these cases, right, which all of them are frivolous. None of them should be cases. They could have brought these as soon as he stepped out of the White House. Why didn't they? They were waiting for him to run again. That's why all of these are one after another. We're going to talk about the Georgia one in a second. That's why all of these are one after another. They thought just with perception alone, let's hit him with these indictments, all of these felonies. That's why they keep saying 91 felonies. So basically all they did was take a cake with 12 slices and cut those 12 slices up into 90 slices. That's what's going on here. None of this stuff was ever going to be at the finish line. The point was to put all of these felonies, all these indictments, and tell the American people, look at him. All this stuff he did bad. There's no way you can vote for him. And the people see right through it, and that's why the polls are landing where they are. None of this stuff was ever, and you can see the complete breakdown of the media. So this was never going to happen. There's not enough time. Plus you have Discovery, all the documentations, just like the Mar-a-Lago, hundreds of thousands, millions of documents that each side has to look through. This is a process. And say hypothetically on this whole immunity challenge, say it in the appeals court where it's at, right? And they're still waiting on that decision. Even if he were to lose that one, he could appeal to the Supreme Court, which is then going to take even more months. None of this stuff. They just thought initially this would completely tank them, and it had the reverse effect. And that's why they pulled the date off of the calendar. It never had enough time. Mind you, and they're talking about the future. Isn't this lady like a normal judge, right? This Chutkan or whatever her name is? That means she has other cases on the docket, right? So all her schedule for the future has to be laid out. So what are they going to do? Start kicking other trials down the road just to put this one in there? This whole thing is completely backfired them. And it even gets worse with Georgia.
I mentioned the Georgia case as well in this context, and there was a bombshell admission in that case today. The Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis finally admitting that she did have a, quote, personal relationship with her top prosecutor. The announcement coming almost a month after the scandal first broke. Now, Willis filed a 176-page court filing. In it, she argues there are no grounds to dismiss the case or to remove her from the prosecution.
And once again, no surprise here. And it actually might be a hell of a lot dirtier than we really thought it was. And just like in the other video, Fani getting caught with her hand in the cookie jar. And this is why the Nathan Wade and her, neither one of them were just denying the relationship because they already knew. And there's receipts to back all of this stuff up. Mind you, she's talking about, I don't need to be recused because she needs to be recused and her whole entire staff. That's the way it works in Georgia, or just period. That's the way it works. But she is trying to sit up and say, well, we didn't have a relationship until after he was put as the top prosecutor. After, then we did. Oh, so he just happened to have a divorce. The day after that, you elevated him. You gave him all this money, almost $1 million, paid him way more than all of these other people. And then the relationship started after that. No, you guys were messing around before that, and the facts will completely bear that out. And check this out, at all networks, MSNBC, the writing is on the wall, and you could just hear it right here.
Evidence that Mr. Wade spent about $3,800 at the beginning of November 2022 to pay for both of them to take a 3-day luxury trip to Aruba. They came back from Aruba, and at that point, he did not have a contract. His contract had expired. They together signed a new contract right after coming back from Aruba. She personally signed it. He personally signed it. I cannot understand, if she was in a romantic relationship with this man as a public official, why she would be signing a contract, an outside contract, with someone that she's in a relationship with. And then that contract gave her the authority to allow him to go over monthly limits. And the next year, she did it month after month after month. He collected at least $30,000 more than the cap, and she apparently personally approved it.
Wow, look at that. So they're chilling in Aruba, feet kicked up, sipping on pina coladas, just living it up. And then you heard the gentleman right there sign the contract to where she could just keep pushing forward that limit. Oh, your limit's only 10,000. Let's put it at 15. Let's put it at 20. Let's go higher than that. You're starting to see this could be a really big issue for her and him, because he puts it all into context in this last segment right here.
You know, I mentioned the invoices before. I just have to say, I've been a legal ethics expert for decades. These are just about the worst billing invoices I have ever seen. And I don't have anything against Nathan Wade, but the state, they should not have been paying him on these invoices. I mean, he submitted invoices for like $10,000 for a week of work. He said 40 hours, and that was it. I've never seen invoices like this. And again, it makes you suspicious about them being approved by someone who's in a relationship with him. The new investigative committee of the state Senate is going to dig into this. And I think it's possible, I'm just speculating, but I think it's possible they're going to find out he overbilled, which, ask Andrew, but that's arguably wire fraud.
Imagine that. And this is off of MSNBC. He'll probably never be invited on again after this. So he put down 40 hours of work for an entire week, and then they gave him 10 grand. Does that sound like it's on the up and up? And even the gentleman's right there starting to look a little bit like wire fraud. All of this stuff, the chickens are coming home to roost. All of this stuff is completely boomeranging back on them. The reason the cases weren't brought forth when he walked out of the White House, right, in 2021, was because they had no merit. They would have went through all this stuff, all this litigation, and then he would have been end up finding not guilty, or he would have won and it would have been turned over on appeal. Then he really would have been Gandhi going into 2024. They wanted to bring it up in the middle to sully the name, and it completely backfired. And now you're seeing it with all this stuff. So now they're leapfrogging. They're like, oh, so now the Alvin Bragg case is the first one up. At the end of the day, once again, common sense. The checks are made out to Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen took that money and then put it and gave it to Stormy Daniels. If it was a direct check from Trump to that's different. He was going off the advice of his lawyer. His lawyer said, do it this way. That's why Michael Cohen was in jail from the jump. But mind you, he got let out early. Why? Because of COVID. That's why. Don't you think that's a little suspicious how all that works out? We're going to let you out a little bit early, then we need you to do this. That's what that smells like too, doesn't it? And he's even in, I was already talking about him. He already got caught busted with submitting fake evidence, fake documentation. Then he's going to be like, oh, I didn't really know that. These people, all of this stuff is coming right back to bite them. And my last topping to put on this whole cake, right, is this right here. They are telling you what it was all about from the jump.
I think that ultimately people have had sort of this wait and see mentality around Donald Trump when, quite frankly, the evidence is there and you can make the decision for yourself. And that's whether you're talking about the court of public opinion as a person who is voting, or whether you are talking about the actual legal court of law when you're thinking about whether Donald Trump should in fact be held accountable criminally for the things he's done. And so ultimately, look at what you know, look at the facts as they are coming out, and make a decision. Waiting for a conviction or an acquittal in a case like this in order to make a determination as to whether you think this man is fit to be the next president of the United States of America is a huge mistake.
See, they know the writing's on the wall, so now they're telling you there doesn't need to be any due process. There doesn't need to be any trial. All of this is right here. This is the evidence. We're telling you what is fact. Listen to us. You should already see him as guilty. You should already see the writing on the wall. There's no need for a trial. You see how they're backpedaling now? So I guess we'll just see whatever hurdle they want to put in front of this man and try to expose him for, or whatever the BS would be, that flavor of the week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe so you guys know where to find me each and every time I upload. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one.